Okay, this is the second part of this short series on how to write the Week 5 project, the literary analysis. Basically, it's a literature analysis, a little bit different than what you've done in high school, because I don't want you to tell me the story. I'm not looking for a plot summary. I already have read the story, so is everybody in the class. You've read it too. Okay, so you already know the summary. Generally in college, unless you're asked to summarize something, you don't spend a lot of time summarizing texts because everybody's already read them. You don't need to summarize them. Instead, you look for their meaning. You try to tell a reader what it means to you, all right, and what it should mean to them. And I'm not talking about symbolism and those kinds of oddball things that you study in literature classes. I'm talking about making the meaning out of what's called an argument. So I'd like for you to look at actually 2 chapters in your textbook. It'd help you very much now if you had your textbook in front of you. If you want to pause this video, you could do that. The assignment says to read chapter 14. I need to add that you really should read chapter 7. These are short chapters, okay? And chapter 7 in your textbook is about analyzing a text, and that's essentially what you're doing. Chapter 14 tells you specifically how to analyze a literary text, a piece of literature, but chapter 7 is the more generic approach, which just helps you get started. And I'd particularly like to refer you to page 53, and it says, analyze the argument. Everything in life is an argument. Every text is an argument. Billboards an argument. Television shows an argument. Advertising an argument. They're all telling you something. They're saying, you know, you should look this way, you should act this way, you should read this, buy this, do this. Okay, that's the argument. All right. So the same way with fiction, nonfiction, the writer is presenting an argument to you. And in this case, Faulkner is presenting the story, but it's an argument. It's an argument about society at the time. Faulkner was a very intelligent writer. That's why he was so popular. He wasn't popular in his own time. Okay, his popularity came later. But basically, if you look at page 53 near the bottom, it says, analyze the argument. Every text makes an argument, both verbal and visual texts, web pages, you name it. They make an argument, they assert something, and they provide some kind of support for those claims. So you're going to write an argument. You're going to assert something about the story, and then you're going to show support for that claim that you just made. And that claim is your topic sentence. The overall claim is your thesis statement, and then the little 7 claims, the 7 points I said you need to make, are 7 topic sentences. They're points. And then you go through the text and pick out some examples to show the reader why this is actually the case. It supports your claim. And then you also refer to Marxist theory and or feminist theory. And as I said earlier, the 2 theories are not contradictory. They're not totally separate. So begin by reading chapter 7 of your textbook. If you turn over to page 54, the next page, it says think about the larger context of something you're reading. So that's why in this case I had you, read Barn Burning, but I also told you about the larger context. I told you about the time in which Faulkner lived through one of the lectures that you looked at. I showed you photographs of what the South was like at that time. And that's the larger context. So anytime you're looking at a text in any of your disciplines, you always need to understand the larger conversation that's been going on about that discipline throughout history or throughout the time that disciplines existed. Now, continuing to look at chapter 7, on page 55, there's a wonderful outline form. This text always has an outline in every chapter, how you could actually follow a set of blocks here that would actually walk you through your paper. I call it an outline because it has the different kind of components. It's a visual outline, all right? It has the components of how to develop your essay. So if you look at this, this will give you ideas on how to get started and how to actually organize your essay. So please look at that. Then if you turn to chapter 14, okay, it points out that you really need to have a strong thesis. You need to tell the reader in that first paragraph what you're going to claim, what your major claim of your essay is, okay? And the top of page 144 helps walk you through the idea of a thesis. Then page 145 helps you find the evidence to support your own interpretation, helps you find the evidence within the short story, helps you support it. Sometimes later on in the class I'll have you do research, more research, not so much for this particular essay. We've done the research, okay? So look at the top of page 145, and then last but not least, at the very end, is also another way you could develop, your essay. So look at these block outlines in both chapter 7 and 14, and that'll give you good ideas. So basically, this is all part of the planning process. It's always very important to plan something you write, and this helps you do the planning. You've already gone through the brainstorming stage. I had you kind of do the brainstorming, which is always very preliminary writing, anything, brainstorming. I had you do that with discussions. That's been the point of the discussions. So, okay, if you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Rest assured that I'll be grading you on reaching page length, using plenty of good illustrations from the text. Another good thing about Chapter 14 is it has several model essays, all right, that you can look at. Always look at the model essays in this textbook. Don't flounder around. Don't try to make the stuff up from scratch. Look at the model essays. Begin there. Say to yourself, okay, how is this writer constructing this essay? How is he or she doing this? I want to try to do the same thing. You want to mimic the pattern. You want to mimic the form of these essays in the textbook. So, okay, good luck. Mail me through Blackboard if you need some more help.